Hello and welcome to Backstage Buzz at the Mac, where you get the inside story and the art scene right from the directors and creators themselves. I'm Diana Martinez and I'm excited to welcome a few of our favorite guests back to the show this month. Later on, I'll chat with Debbie Venezia about how October is Arts DuPage Month, a time of year for local residents to celebrate arts and culture in DuPage County. Then we'll hear from COD Music Department Chair Lee Kesselman. He'll give you a rundown of this fall's Music Fridays at noon. But first, I'm so happy to welcome Connie Canaday Howard to the show, who is directing a Shakespearean classic for college theater this semester. Welcome, Connie.
Hi.
So I didn't say the name of the play for fear it would be bad luck.
Right.
So it's that Shakespeare play,
That's
the one
right.
that has a big myth about it.
Right. Scottish play.
The Scottish play. Mm-hmm. So can you tell everybody what it's about?
Yeah. So I'm talking about the character now, so I can say the name. It's about Macbeth, and Macbeth was a figure in history, as was Duncan, as was Banquo, and Shakespeare took the real life version as it came down through history in Holinshed's Chronicles, and then fictionalized it. So it's really about someone who, or perhaps you could say more than someone, some people who usurp power and sort of knock, in the Renaissance there was not a prevalent, not the only point of thought, but there was a belief in what's called the great chain of being, that everybody's in their place and that's when things work in harmony. And when something knocks that chain out of whack, everything goes out of whack. And so Macbeth seizes power, and that starts a cycle of more and more violence until enough people stand up for what's right. Even though they know they may be defeated, they stand up for what's right and ultimately are successful.
So do you like directing Shakespeare?
Love it.
How many times have you directed this show?
Only once.
Really?
Yeah, only one other time this show. Yeah.
And why do you like it? Why do you like, what draws you to Shakespeare?
Shakespeare, I've liked Shakespeare since I was in high school, but I really became more impassioned by Shakespeare when I was in college and then in graduate school. And I became a Shakespeare scholar. And I think his themes are timeless and so relevant today. I wish, honestly, they weren't, but
they always are, right?
Yes, yes. And so the need to stand up for what's right, even when you are in the minority and you know it may come at tremendous cost to you or to those you love, is really what the piece is about. And unfortunately, I think that is a really relevant theme for today.
True. I think with Shakespeare, for a younger student, it's hard.
It's hard.
It's super hard. How do you approach that differently to help the students wrangle this?
Yeah, I think, even if I were working with professional actors, the approach is generally the same. It's the method that's different. So Shakespeare, as with all playwrights in this time, wrote direction into the language of this piece. It's called scansion. And so with students who've never scanned before, we break it down. Our first rehearsal was a breakdown. It was a Shakespeare workshop. Entirely on language, not even on history. And then the history is coming through rehearsal as we're working scenes. And with professional actors, you probably wouldn't do that scansion workshop, but you keep referring back to something's wrong in that line, something's not scanning correctly, let's break it down. Okay, there's a alliteration here, or there's an antithetical here, or there's it's a short verse line, so what does that mean? It's a shared verse line, what does that mean? So the reason for that was that, they do as many as 40 plays in a year at a theater company.
Right.
So mounting something or remounting something usually was 2 days of rehearsal, and many of the actors didn't read. So they learned their role through rote and then owned the language. So, there were all of these hints And even though it's direction, you can choose a different approach for a line. Of course, it's not written in stone. There's no theater god that's going to strike you down if you do something different. But you need to know why you're doing it differently if you decide to do that.
So are you changing the period in this interpretation of it, or how are you?
Well, when it was first produced, it was produced in the Renaissance, even though it was about warrior Scotland, 11th century Scotland. We're doing it in warrior Scotland.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're doing it in the correct period.
Correct.
Traditionally.
Yep.
What are the challenges?
Scanning is one. Time is one.
Explain time.
Well, it goes up in November. And so that's a lot of time, but it's a lot of time with a piece that is different than other contemporary pieces. So a scene that's going to play for maybe, 2, 3, 5 minutes, rehearsal time is more like hours.
Right.
Coming back to it, building on it. It's sort of like an onion where you're adding layers every time you rehearse. And then there's stage combat. There's moving in costumes. We have another non-traditional thing that we're doing is we have some women playing women as warriors, which would have been period correct, but not necessarily what is often done with the script. So, Lennox is a woman, Menteith is a woman, that kind of thing. So,
often, though, it was men played women's roles.
Correct.
Often, right?
Correct.
One thing that I find interesting about Shakespeare, and I recall in college, my college professor was crazy for Shakespeare. And I remember seeing shows and being like, until I saw one, and then it was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I remember my professor saying, when people do it right, every moment is understandable.
correct.
It's when they're disconnected that you're like, I have no idea what they're talking about.
Right.
And I think that's the challenge, is to do it right. When it's done right, you understand every second, And I think that's a hard thing for people to understand, is
Right.
that it's graspable, but it's also better to I think, go in understanding a little bit of the concept of what
Sure.
are you seeing
Sure.
before you go in. Read
Yeah.
a synopsis, understand what you're seeing before you see it. So, how are things going so far?
Good.
Yeah?
Good. Yeah.
You're ready?
Oh no, we're not ready, but we're in there. We're working, and we will be ready. So it's a lot of fun. It's a big cast. 27.
How many people?
27.
That is a big cast.
Yeah. So and most people are. The way that we're doing it, I've rearranged the play a little bit, which was often done during Shakespeare's time. One, so nobody else could steal it, and another reason, they were working on the structure and what should happen when, et cetera, et cetera. So there's precedent for it, and we're doing. I don't know what to call it. I'm telescoping some scenes, so I'm playing 3 scenes, portions of the scene, and freeze framing. So you're seeing what's happening at the same moment in different environments.
Oh, interesting.
And that we've started to work on, but will really need to come in October and into November. But I think it's going to be exciting.
It's going to be fabulous.
Yep.
Thank you for coming to tell
Thank
everybody about
you.
the show. I'm excited to see it. College Theater's Macbeth runs November 14th through the 24th. Get your tickets now by visiting atthemac.org or by calling the box office at 630-942-4000. Be sure to get your tickets for these great shows coming to the Mac. Come see the 4 Italian tenors, Viva Italia, on October 26th. Don't miss the legendary Ailey 2 on November 9th. Come celebrate Blue Note Records' 80th birthday celebration as they present the State of Jazz 2019 on November 10th. Pete the Cat is back on November 15th. The Midtown Men stars the original Broadway cast of Jersey Boys will be here on November 16th. For tickets and more information on these shows, visit atthemac.org or call 630-942-4000. October is Arts DuPage Month, and we are ready to celebrate at the MAC. Here to tell us more about all the amazing programming going on throughout the month is the Director of Arts DuPage, Debbie Venezia. Welcome, Debbie.
Oh, thank you, Diana. It's great to be here. I love coming back, so this has been
Good.
a great experience for us.
So tell us all about Arts DuPage Month. To me, I think the easiest way to describe it is as it's like restaurant week, but with the arts.
Yeah, and I try to explain it to people, and when I get a blank look, I have to take the next step. A lot of people understand that concept, but basically, Arts DuPage Month is a celebration of the arts in DuPage County. And if you want to participate, if you're an organization and you have events and you want to be a part of Arts DuPage Month, you have to offer some kind of perk, a discount, some kind of incentive that really ups the ante a little bit on your event. So if you had a regular event, say a performance, you'd have to tack something onto that to make it special.
Or give them a discount.
Give them a discount,
So
absolutely.
for the people watching who are just regular people like me that want to just go see a show, or if you like the arts, you go to this website and there's dozens of offers in the month of October that get you behind the scenes or get you a discount, and then you can see all the different arts organizations, right, that we have.
And it's the response we've gotten so far is really amazing. So we have, for example, Drury Lane Theater is offering a $20 discount on all tickets for the entire month. And you have several events, and yours is buy two, get one free. So we have a BOGO on that one. And that Reza event looks really, is it Reza? Is that how you say? Reza?
Ours are buy one, get one free.
Oh, okay, buy one, get one free. So they look fabulous. You know, that event looks really good. There's a lot of organizations that created events for Arts DuPage Month. For example, Burning Bush Gallery partnered with Bernie Kleena, and I don't know if anybody's familiar with him. He's amazing photographer, and he was very involved in the 60s. So he took photographs, the March at Selma, the Democratic Convention in Chicago. So the pop-up photograph exhibit that he's doing at Burning Bush is the Civil Rights Movement.
Okay.
And so powerful. His images are just, I mean, they go right to your heart. He was credited for being the first person to take a color picture of Martin Luther King. So this is something here.
And this is in Wheaton?
This is in Wheaton on Main Street.
So how many organizations would you say are participating?
Right now we have about 45. And they're all different sizes. We have the Paramount and Drury Lane, as I mentioned, and the MAC. And then we have smaller ones like Wheaton Drama and the Sheldon Peck Homestead. They're having they created a closing reception for Sheldon Peck exhibit, and they're going to have docents there. So they're going to, if you didn't get a chance to see the exhibit yet, you can go there. The art department in Downers Grove created an art walk in Downers Grove. So you have a whole art walk and go to different locations, and then it kind of culminates at an exhibit at St. Andrew's Church with the work of the artists in the art department. So everybody is really excited about it. And this is our second year. We tested the waters last year, and we had pretty good results. But this year, I think there's a lot more engagement on both sides. So the community members are responding to it, as are the organization leaders.
So you go online to
artsdupage.org.
artsdupage.org, and then where do you go to find all these special offers? Is it right there on the homepage?
Yeah, there's certain buttons you can click. We put Arts DuPage perks. We put Arts DuPage filters in 4 different places, hoping that you'll see at least one of them. And if you click on that, it will pull up the whole roster of events that are official Arts DuPage Month events.
So you've got to find this button to click on, and what does it say?
It says Arts DuPage Month perks, or
great.
Arts DuPage. Like I said, we have it in 4 locations. So yeah.
So you click on the button and you see these offers, and then you can buy in advance, and some are some free.
Oh, a lot of free events, a lot of them, and they might do, for example, and I'm pretty sure they're doing it, so I hope I'm not jumping the gun, but Wheaton Drama is doing the Addams Family, so I'm pretty sure what their perk is, like to come early and get your picture taken with the Addams Family. So they're going to have a special dedicated performance where the actors are all going to be in costume before the play, so you can join in and be one of the Addams Family members.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, I mean, just fun thing. It's great working with artists because they're so creative. So, you have the standard perks, but then you have these little offshoots that are, they're amazing. And it's one of those things that you're not going to always be able to experience. I say down in DuPage County, there's arts going on all year round. Right. It's not just in October, but in October, you get these extra, kind of like perks, benefits, and ultimately what we want to do is get community members more involved in the arts. A lot of people have this filter like, oh yeah, I don't like the arts, and it's like, well, let's think about that. And I've mentioned this before on your show. What about those outdoor concerts all summer long? Did you go there? Did you have fun? If you go to a restaurant and they have jazz music, like WDCB does a lot of programs at right. Adele's and the other ones, and you sit there and you listen to the music, that you're participating in the arts. Or Frida Fest, when you had that right. amazing program, when you saw, I don't know how many thousands of people came here on a day that was raining. It started out raining when people were probably making their plans. It cleared up and it ended up being a very nice day. But on the onset, people came out in the rain and it was chilly, and they spent the whole day here, and they were painting and dancing and engaging in all the offerings. And so it's exhilarating when you see that kind of engagement.
Well, I think everybody's creative. It's mm-hmm. just how you're creative.
Yes.
Right? You might be a creative problem solver, you might be creative woodworker, mm-hmm. or you might be a creative guy with a car, or you might be creative in the kitchen, or I think everybody's got their thing that makes them tick. Mm-hmm. And they don't realize that that's all kind of creativity.
Yeah, and that's all a piece of it. Right. And there is something that can pique your interest. If you look at the arts and you look at the different things, so for example, you can go to Cantini and get into the World War II, the First Division Museum, and they have things there. Or you go to the Elmhurst Art Museum, and you go to the Arboretum, and these different cornerstone kind of organizations have things for everybody.
Now, I know you had a huge kickoff, mm-hmm. and we co-hosted it here at the MAC, and you had a speaker.
Wonderful. Yes.
And your speaker was here, and I know we just have a few minutes, but he was kind of evangelizing on the power of the arts, which I thought was just phenomenal, and what it does for community in terms of livability. What else do you want everybody to know about his talk?
Yeah, and I think it was really powerful, some of the things the points that he brought out about how the arts can help the community, and even to the point of, we always talk about the economic impact. So many people know if you have an arts event, you're going to stop at a restaurant, so you support the local merchants and everything. But he made it broader than that.
I know, like the program you're reading was printed in town, the poster and the advertising and the designer of the ads. I'm like, oh, that's so true.
So there's so many, it's like this whole spider web. The electricians that change your light bulbs, the tie his wife bought him so they could go to the event. When you put all those pieces together and you multiply that by the number of, say, attendees, and do that for all the events that are going on simultaneously in the right. community, that's huge. That's huge revenue. It's like 4.2% of the business revenue comes from arts businesses and organizations, and it employs 15,000 people. So you have those numbers, and they're impressive. And I don't think people when they think about art, they don't think of it in those terms.
Well, and I don't think a lot of people knew DuPage County, 15,000 people are employed by the arts. He did that study for us, which was pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing. We're done.
This was so great. I could talk for hours. This is great. Well, and I hope people come out and kind of experience some of the arts that they find on our site. It would be great.
That would be great. Thank you for coming, Debbie.
Sure.
Be sure to show your appreciation for the arts this month and come see a show. For more information, please visit artsdupage.org. Don't miss out on even more great programming coming to the MAC. Famed trumpeter Jens Linderman will play with the New Philharmonic Orchestra on November 2nd and 3rd. College Dance will have their Fall Fusion Showcase on November 8th. Up next in our National Theater Live movie series will be the classic musical 42nd Street. Come screen the show on November 21st or 23rd. The DuPage Community Jazz Ensemble will take the stage on November 24th. Music Fridays at Noon is a series of one-hour free programs featuring performances and presentations by COD faculty, students, alumni, and guests. Here to tell you all about it is Lee Kesselman. Welcome, Lee.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you. So I think, and this is the brochure, so look for this when you come to the MAC. I think this is one of the best programs the MAC offers that you create.
Well, how sweet.
I do. I think it's nice because it's free. I think it's awesome because it's intimate, and people really ask questions and learn things. And I love that a lot of times, like sometimes if I go down, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. And I always do. And I always learn something, you know, even if you don't think you might.
Yeah.
It's well done. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So can you tell people a little bit like what to expect?
Sure. Well, what to expect is something different every week.
Right,
People hate
right.
hearing that, but it's actually true. What we've tried to do is design weekly programs that show the broad spectrum of what the musical life might be like. So with our own faculty, it's a way to spotlight people who are teaching, and people get a chance to meet them as performers. With our own students, it gives them a chance to perform. So you might hear a recital or a program of either student or faculty, or events that faculty are involved in. So those are the more pure, just come and here's some music. And it'll be all different styles depending on the week, but it spotlights our music department, our teachers, and our students. The alumni events are a little bit different. Sometimes they tell us what they've done since they left here, and that gives our students an idea of, oh, you know, there is life after college at DuPage. How exciting is that? But most of them perform, or they talk about what they do. We've had sound designers who've come in and they've played clips of music they've written for commercials or for theater or for film. And sometimes they come in and they sing if they're singers, or they perform on the guitar or trumpet or something like that. And then the guests, again, all over the map. Sometimes performers, sometimes groups, sometimes individuals, and often people who are presenting a side of music that you might not see if you just went to a concert. So for instance, this last week, we had Dr. Mary Lynn Doherty, who's a music education professor at Northern Illinois University, and she came to talk about music education as a way of life. Now, for our students who want to go into music education, it was like career day.
Right.
But the strange thing to me was we had not only our students who might want to go into music education, we had community people who came just to hear someone talk about music education. And I think what that proves is that people are innately curious about some of these subjects. And some will come more to the concerts and some will come more to the talks, but they come for lots of different reasons, and we try to present things that appeal to all those different facets.
You know, one of my favorites was you had the concert master from the CSO, or assistant concert master violinist, and he played his, you know, his show, and that was great. And then one of the students asked, "What do you do to warm up?"
Right.
And when he got into doing the finger exercises and he's showing people, and I'm trying to do it, I'm like, how in the world? I can't even do one. My fingers were cramping.
Right.
I love it when, I love the after, the talk and the questions, because you don't often get to do that with artists.
That's right. And I think that for us is also fun as teachers, is to see what kinds of questions come up. And sometimes it's a question that the questioner thinks, oh, you know, if this were a bigger theater, I would never ask this question because it's just too obvious. Or
Right.
maybe some people always say, I think this is a stupid question, but, and invariably, it not only tells us what people don't know about the arts, but also how much more interesting stuff is behind the scenes. And as you said, it's an intimate thing. We do it in a classroom. The classroom can seat, we've had as many as 150 people come to these events.
Right.
But what it does is it gives people a chance to be really close. They're in row 2, they're watching someone play the guitar or play the piano, and then at the end they get to say, you know, I've always wondered, how do you memorize music? So they ask a question like that, and some of the people in the room go, yeah, I kind of knew that, but other people in the room are going, wow, I never even thought about that. How do you memorize music? And then we get to hear the artists talk, and I think that's part of what we're trying to do, is to make this more of the human relationship than going to a concert hall. You come in, you sit in your seats, you say, that was wonderful, and then you go home.
Right. It's working.
Well, good.
But then, now, I want to talk about the Ruth Bader Ginsburg piece, and I don't want to take a lot of time on it, but it was so good. And I just want everyone to know, so it was like an operatic lecture on with the highlights of her quotes. which was really sophisticated and awesome and phenomenal and free, right?
And
Right
free.
here.
You know, the free part, it's interesting. Those of us in the arts, we get used to the fact that we pay for things, and that's how artists live, is to do that. The fact that these concerts are free draws some people who would never come to something they had to pay, or they don't think they would come. And also the fact that it's during the day. So we get
Right.
people who come, there's one couple who have been coming to every event, every single week. And I think they're retired, but they don't seem that old. Of course, I'm older too. But they come and they said, this is part of our retirement thing, is that we go to this event and then we have lunch with a nice glass of wine and then we take our nap on Friday afternoons. And that just moves me so much because it says this could be a part of everyone's life. Everyone could enjoy the arts if they just thought they were close enough. But the Ruth Bader Ginsburg project was one that I feel very, very, very strongly about, and I'm so glad we were able to get them to come. Patrice Michaels is a soprano and a composer, and Kwang Hao Kwang, I got his name wrong, I'm sure, is the pianist. And Patrice is the daughter-in-law of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's married to Ruth's son, Little Jimmy, as they say in the movies. And she wrote a song cycle, a contemporary song cycle, based on words by the Supreme Court Justice or by people who knew the Supreme Court Justice. And so she's basically writing a biographical sketch that's roughly 40 minutes or 45 minutes long with piano and voice based on the life of somebody she knows really, really well and that we know from afar as a giant in the legal profession. And Patrice brings all that passion of really caring about this person and knowing this person with this incredible voice and musicality. So I've heard her do the cycle before, and the first time I heard it, I thought, we have to bring this
It's
to the
so
MAC,
good.
and this turned out to be a great venue and a great time to do it. When I heard her before, it was downtown, and I swear half the people in the audience were members of the legal profession. So at the reception, I met 4 or 5 judges who were all there, and when I said, so what do you do? And somebody said, I'm a circuit court judge in the city, in Cook County. And I said, really? And he said, this is my hero, this is my real hero. And the funny thing is the music is modern. If you just heard the music without the voice or the words, without context, you'd think, oh, this is kind of modern. Maybe I like this, maybe I don't. But no one thinks about that when they hear the words and the story. No one thinks, I think this chord
No,
is a
it
little
sounded classical
dissonant,
to
or-
me.
It's a little classical, but it's, what it really is it's a great way of storytelling. And one doesn't worry about style or technique when that's happening. You just get immersed in the program. I've seen this before. I have the CD of it, which is put out by CDs, and I probably have heard it 5 or 6 times, and I heard new things this time I've never heard before. And I think that's part of the beauty of what we call the classical arts, is that you can experience them for the 2nd or the 3rd or the 10th time, and that Beethoven 5th Symphony will live in a new way because you're ready to receive it in a different way. And that's not true of all the arts. It's true of some of them, but certainly the arts that endure are the ones that you can just keep going.
Now, I bet the hip hop lovers would say the same thing.
Absolutely, and I would say the same thing about hip hop, some hip hop artists, and certainly I'd say the same thing about country music artists and my favorite artists in every genre. I can hear Roseanne Cash sing the same song over and over again, and sometimes have, or Rhiannon Giddens, or one of those people. And each time it has something new to say because I'm in a different place from where I was, and because she's in a different place from the place she was when she first wrote the song.
It's true.
Yeah.
Lee, thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
Well, if you want to come to a Music Friday at noon at the MAC, they are on Fridays. They are at 12 noon. I say this because we get this question often. They're at the MAC. They're free. So for a detailed schedule, please visit atthemac.org, and you can read and see which ones appeal to you, and we hope you'll come and visit us. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you for watching. We look forward to seeing you at the theater and next time on Backstage Buzz.